Hello, my name is David Corbett. I live in Marion, Arkansas, and I am trying to start an effort to start some community gardens around the county and around the different communities. And I've just started doing this within the last couple of months. So I am constantly looking for people who might be interested, organizations that might be interested in helping, and of course, space to do this. I've got some good ideas. I'm actually working on a permaculture design certificate at the moment to learn some more things and actually get something behind me that says I have some idea what I'm doing and I'm willing to put effort into it. One of the main things I'm doing right now is looking for space, looking for places where we can start gardens. They don't have to be 2, 3, 5 acres. It can be a underused space. It can be an abandoned commercial lot. It can even be completely paved over. I really don't care. If it's big enough to put some, a few raised beds on, it's a good enough to start. In that, I've been driving around, and there's a place that keeps catching my eye, and this is why I come to y'all. I would like to give you a proposal here on video, and then if this piques your interest in person, for using some underutilized space that I'm not sure if y'all own it. I know it's right close to you. So if you don't own it, of course, just let me know. And if you know who does own it, let me know who that is so I can contact them. But anyway, there's about a quarter-acre space there, over where the ATM is. This is my current garden to kind of give you an idea of, I'm not just wanting to till up a bunch of area and make what looks like your grandma's garden in the backyard. This is what I'm doing in my own backyard. Ambulance going by. So what you're seeing here is the beginnings of some raised beds that are 1 year old. I've got blueberries under those hoops with bird netting. The little red structure and carport is where I have chicken coops. So and most of this was done in this last year, so this is only about a year or so old. So this gives you some idea of my aesthetic interest, at least in a backyard garden. The area in question is this little square plot there on 77 between you and the ATM. Again, I don't know if y'all even own this or not. If not, please let me know. But this is kind of what it looks like, from a Google satellite view right now. In the middle of it, the green part in the middle could be a herb spiral. Anybody that looks on Pinterest or any kind of gardening sites and stuff, herb spiral seems to be one of the big things. So let's throw that in there, right in the middle. But let's keep it about 3 foot tall or shorter to not make a huge structure out of it. And the white ring around it would be kind of a walking path with some seating. So what this would also do, it'd serve a dual purpose of not only being the focal point, the center of the sunflower, but that could be a meeting spot, an outdoor classroom, something of that nature. So you've kind of got that central hub. And then each of these petals would be an individual bed. And at the widest spot, no more than 4 feet tall or 4 feet wide. The reason for that being, a lot of times in raised beds, you want it to be no wider than you could reach halfway across from the outside. So if you're kneeling or standing, but probably kneeling at the side of it, most people can reach about 2 feet. So 2 feet from either side, 4 feet. And then of course the rest of it's narrower. And then that way you don't really ever have to step in it. There's no tilling of it, so you don't need any kind of machinery up there. There's no compaction. I mean, that's just general raised bed philosophy there. Now also notice at the tips of the petals or the beds, you could insert another kind of petal where they start to widen out. You could have the tip of another bed going, so you could actually have like 2 rows of these petals of these raised beds. Now each one of these raised beds would be one that an individual or a family could rent for the year. And I say rent because in order for something to be valuable to somebody, they need to put something into it. Okay? And this is kind of basic community garden stuff. They need to rent it for the year. They do everything in that. We don't tell them what to plant. There's not some grand plan. This is their garden. There's a lot of people that are in the different apartments. They don't have a place to garden. There's a lot of people right across the street from the church. I've had friends that lived over there in some of these houses. They rent these houses. Well, as a rental, they have a nice big yard that they keep mowed, and it may be landscaped a little bit, but they're not allowed to put a garden in. They can't dig into the soil and install anything. So here they have this nice house, this big yard, and they can't garden other than maybe in a few buckets or containers or something. So they could rent one of these pedals, one of these raised beds for the year and plant whatever they want in there. The rules of that would basically be no chemical fertilizers, no pesticides, no herbicides. So no using Roundup, no using, even Miracle-Gro. That's not organic and stuff. So I'm not trying to be all touchy-feely, tree-huggy, rainbow here. But we're trying to grow food. So what would you want to feed your kids, and kind of keep it organic? So a few minor limitations, not to the plants that they can grow, but how they take care of it. And it is their garden, so they have to do everything. Neither I nor anyone else is going to weed it for them, plant it for them, fill it with soil, any of that. So they treat it just like it's their own garden. If you don't put the work in, you don't get anything out. And if it's not your bed, if it's not your garden, don't touch it. So don't be grabbing tomatoes off other people's stuff. But anyway, that's all stuff that can be talked about later. So again, this is one possible design. There's all kinds of ways to do it. I just don't necessarily want the community gardens to be just a square with a bunch of rectangles in it. I want it to be kind of imaginative, kind of fun, a nice place that people would want to go, even if they're not the gardener. Just something kind of pretty, especially when it's this visible. Again, each petal is a separate bed with a point near the herb spiral, enlarging, then constricting back to a point at the end. Widest part no more than 4 feet. We've already talked about that. At the outside of each of the petals, another petal begins in the same shape as space allows for a possible 38 beds. So, we could, in that space, depending on how we lay it out, we could have 38, 40 individual places that could be rented. Now, as far as the funds that, maybe it's $10 a year, just something very nominal, but a little bit, so they have to pay for it, but also it would incur, help any cost of maintaining the general place. Maybe if we're building the beds for them, it'd help cover the cost of the lumber to build it and to lay it out and stuff like that, just overhead type cost. Now, all I'm asking, if the church does own this, all I'm asking is use of that, but I'll talk about more of that. So, why here? Why now? Well, number one, it's an underutilized space. It's got great visibility where it is, so especially if this is the first one that I can get started, it'd be very nice if it was someplace that was very visible, and then, we could spread from there. Hunger in our community and the obesity epidemic, and I'll talk about each one of these. As far as underutilized space, I drive by this place all the time. I've lived here. I've been on the fire department. I drive by it all the time. I only see 2 things ever happen in that space. Somebody's either mowing it or they're doing pee-wee football. That's about it. So I'm saying, why not let's put a garden there, and it could be used year-round. Believe it or not, with some row covers and stuff, you can pretty much grow at least salad greens most of the year. It's January 14th right now, and other than the rain outside, I just need a light jacket. So for whatever reason, we seem to be getting a longer and longer growing season. So let's put that to use. Visibility, we've already talked about that. It's very visible, not only for the effort of trying to teach people to garden and get them interested in it. It's using up the space, it draws attention to the church, and it's right across the road from Walmart. So while there's a lot of good food in Walmart, maybe as people are pulling in, if they see a garden, it'll kind of put a little message in the back of their mind as they go in and do their grocery shopping to pick some healthier stuff. even in our affluent county and community, you look around. There's Escalades, there's Hummers, there's expensive cars, expensive houses. Um, there is still hunger here. How, I almost don't even understand with all the affluence we have, but it's there. So maybe somebody that they're on WIC, they're on food stamps, SNAP, whatever it's called nowadays, and they're still having problems being able to get good, healthy food. Maybe we get them interested and they start learning how to grow, and whether they continue in that garden or whether they transfer that to their own place to container gardens or something, they learn they can grow food and they don't always have to buy the food. And it's going to be high nutrient food. It's going to be low calorie food, lots of fiber, lots of vitamins, that kind of stuff. We don't have to try to feed a whole family off of each one of these beds, but just kind of give a start. And believe it or not, even though there's hunger in this community, there's also an obesity epidemic. So this really just drives me nuts. How can we have an obesity epidemic and hunger at the same time? So obviously there's enough food. It just may not be good food, and it's not at the right place. But again, so whether we're trying to help with hunger or whether we're trying to help with healthy eating to combat the obesity epidemic, gardens, I think, are one tool in that toolkit. And the design I have is just one design. There are so many designs. A garden doesn't have to be rows and rectangles. It can be pretty. It can be a place you want to go, a place that's inviting. We may need to do some kind of fencing around it just so that other people that don't have anything to do with the garden don't go in there and strip everything. But that can be done, and there's many ways to do that attractively, if need be. It's good to work. It's good to get your hands dirty, and it's good to teach the kids how to do this. I mean, I remember doing this with my parents. I grew up on the farm, grew up out in the country, and I remember gardening. It's been very fond memories, and it's been something that I've stayed with, and I've been able to grow things in my surplus. I've been able to give to neighbors and friends. What would be required? The only thing, and I mean it, the only thing that I ask is access to some land in writing, preferably for multi-years, because it's not going to do any good to spend a lot of time and effort to lay this thing out and then have it gone in a year. There's some things that would make it pretty, that some kinds of shrubs or berry bushes or fruit trees or something like that take a few years to establish. So I would like something multi-year in writing saying that yes, I have permission to do this, and under what rules and things like that, and we know we can depend on it for a while. That's it. I'm not asking for a single person from the church to lift a finger, open a wallet, or do anything. If they want to, great. Love it. But I'm not asking for that. All I want is access to the land to be able to start this. If you'd like to contact me, here's my name, David Corbett. There's my phone number. Text is better than calling because I work as a hospice nurse visiting people in 2 different counties, so I may not be able to answer, but I'll always return a phone call if you leave a message, and I'll always return a text, as soon as I have time. There's also my email address, and I do have a Facebook group, Crittenden County Community Gardens. Feel free to look for that, find it, and join it as well to keep us organized. Thank you.